For the first time in about 15 months, the center in South Philadelphia expected to be at full throttle and throat tonight as the 76ers believe they will be playing in front of a capacity crowd. Another opportunity for this team to clinch a berth to the Eastern Conference Semifinals for the first time since 2019 and third time in the last 4 years. How you doing? Welcome to a 7-6 Live Countdown. I am Brian Seltzer. Game 5 between the 76ers and the Washington Wizards tonight from the center, where, again, for the first time since last February, the building is expected to be full. I say, Lauren, for the first time since last February because if you remember the last time there were no crowd restrictions at the center, it was March 11th, 2020, when the Sixers played the Pistons. But even that game, it was just on the verge of the pandemic really hitting in the United States. And that night, the building was half full. So tonight, the energy level should be, so to speak, through the roof.
Yeah, so things are already buzzing over here. No fans yet, of course, but this is a day that Sixers fans in the city have really looked forward to. If there's one thing that is for sure about Game 5, it is going to be loud in here. Very loud in here, and I am looking forward to it.
By this point in time, many of you out there have probably already heard the news of the day. Earlier this afternoon, around 1 o'clock, we received an update on the status of Joel Embiid. An MRI reviewed by several orthopedic specialists revealed that Embiid has a small lateral meniscus tear in his right knee, which he injured in the first quarter of Game 4, which the Wizards won 122-114. The injury is going to be managed with a physical therapy and treatment program. Embiid is out for tonight's game. We know that, and he's considered day today. So that's the news line.
And while we're doing that, Seth Curry, George Hill, probable for this one. And that is a wrap on the injury report for today.
We heard from a couple voices from the 76ers locker room within the last half hour. George Hill speaking after the team's walkthrough a few moments ago. And then Doc Rivers always meets just before we take the air on our 7-6 Live Countdown stream. Lauren, what were some of your takeaways from what the guys were saying?
Well, the general tone remains hopeful. This is a team that has found ways to win all season long when Joel has been out. George Hill, not necessarily a part of all those runs due to when he joined this team, but he knows and believes in this group. He said even before he joined this team, he knew what it was capable of, as did Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers had a lot to say about that run earlier, closing out the month of March, I believe, where the Sixers went 7-3 without Joel Embiid. They have learned how to do this, even though it's going to be difficult. It's a situation that they've prepared for, and Doc Rivers and the team certainly aware of that.
I think both sets of emotions, Lauren, can exist. You don't just snap your fingers and replace a guy who's averaging nearly 30 points and 11 rebounds per game just like that, who's gotten off to a tremendous start in the postseason. But like you said, there is evidence that has shown the 76ers can compete, play well in the absence of Joel Embiid, and that's the mindset that they have to have right now. We referenced that media session with Doc Rivers. I believe we have some tape from it. So let's roll this right now. This is within the last 20 minutes. Doc Rivers with his first reaction to the news that Joel Embiid is out day-to-day with that knee injury.
We got the news about Joel, and the statement from the team said that he's day-to-day. Do you expect that you're going to get Joel back here at some point?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't know when, John, or at least I'm hopeful. I think that'd be a better way of putting it. He's going to do his treatment, and we're going to assess the day-to-day and see where we can get him.
How much do you feel for him after he accepted your challenge in the offseason, got in really good shape, and he's dealing with another injury now?
Yeah, it's tough because he's done such a great job. And if you look at his body right now, he couldn't be in better shape. I mean, you see the tone, you see the play. And for this to happen at this point, going through the whole year, is really difficult. But he's hanging in there. Our job is to keep his spirits up and keep pushing him to get ready.
Rivers went on to say he considers Joel a warrior, someone who is willing to go through whatever it takes to get back on the floor. If there's a way for him to get back on the floor, Joel is going to do it. And right now the Sixers are, and they just have to keep their focus forward. They're on the cusp of advancing to the second round. And while this is something the team has to deal with, can't let it deter or distract for the players and coaches from the main mission.
So it was a small microcosm of what the team is dealing with now. Joel Embiid did go out in that third regular season matchup between the Sixers and the Wizards, and the team did find a way to win that one. So maybe channeling some of that energy. Tobias Harris has discussed that this is something that the team has learned to do over time, win without Joel. Doc Rivers also in that presser said that while they prepared for a situation without Joel, they were hoping that he was going to be in foul trouble or need to sit for a few minutes, not for a game. And so now they're embracing those reps that they got without him, even though they didn't want it. They didn't necessarily want to have to get there.
And I think for anyone who watched that game in Game 4 on Monday, seeing a player of the significance and stature of Joel Embiid go out and not return, that shakes your psyche a little bit. So I can't imagine what it's like being a teammate of his, a coach of his, and still having to go through the game. The energy shifted right after that happened when we knew Joel wouldn't come back at the end of the first quarter. That wasn't surprising. Washington capitalized on the change of energy and really took advantage to go on to stave off elimination with the 76ers looking at a sweep. The injury to Joel occurring just moments after that very impressive dunk from Matisse Thybulle. So the Sixers on the fly in Game 4 on Monday had to try to adapt, adjust, and figure out how to move forward without Joel Embiid, and that's easier said than done, regardless of the amount of reps they had during the regular season without him. That was the cauldron, Lauren, of a playoff game, and not just a playoff game on the road.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They had reps without Joel Embiid. They did not have reps against a team on the brink of elimination with weapons like Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, who of course knew that the Sixers were going to find themselves vulnerable in that situation, and they did capitalize. Of course, all the credit to them for making the most of the situation they were given, and now the Sixers, of course, the opportunity to respond on their home court where they are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league.
There's certain things, Lauren, that the Sixers can't control, the timeline for Joel Embiid or the fact that in that game on Monday, Ben Simmons got into foul trouble. But what I'm looking forward to tonight is perhaps seeing renewed defensive purpose and focus. The Sixers' credit, starting right here with this floater from Furkan Korkmaz, they started to get going and ratchet up their intensity down the stretch. Not only was Furkan big, but Tyrese Maxey played extremely well, as we see Furkan finish with a single-roll putback. And those two guys, those two bench players, and Furkan and Maxey, really gave the Sixers a lift.
Yeah, bench readiness has also been a theme in this entire season. Of course, with the condensed nature of the calendar, a lot of guys have been relied upon, and Doc Rivers has credited this team for being as deep as it is, saying that he's not afraid to go deep into the rotation, which he's done all series long. Credit, of course, to guys like Furkan, like Tyrese Maxey, who didn't necessarily play massive roles at the beginning of the series, but have found a way to make an impact. And Doc, of course, before this, said that he expects them to continue doing just that, especially when it comes to Furkan. I liked what he had to say. He said, when Furkan's playing well, it usually means that we're playing well too. And I think that that's an accurate representation of what happened down the stretch in Game 4, and hopefully good for a guy like Furkan to get some confidence, especially if he's going to see some more minutes as the series continues.
No Joel Embiid after the first quarter in Game 4. Guys like Ben Simmons, Danny Green in foul trouble. Doc Rivers with his thoughts on the fourth game of this opening round series.
Yeah, I thought the foul trouble it was more. Obviously losing Joel was number one, right? And then being in foul trouble as well. Those are the two things that hurt us. We had Danny in foul trouble, Ben in foul trouble, Joel out of the game. So on the fly, we were just trying to find the right lineup. I actually thought we went to, all kinds of strange lineups tonight. And, those small lineups became very effective for us. I thought it got us back in the game. I thought Furk was absolutely phenomenal for us tonight, which was great. He needed to get going, so maybe we can add him to the series now.
And that would be great to see if Furkan Korkmaz took on an increased role and really built off the momentum he got from Game 4. And we also know, look, Lauren, Ben Simmons would love to have some of those opportunities back that he had at the free throw line late in the game. It was great to see that he was out there early tonight, getting in some shots and warming up.
He sure was. He was the first person I saw when I got here tonight, and I get here pretty darn early. So Ben, of course, putting in work like always. Another guy putting in work behind me just moments ago, Tobias Harris, who figures to play a large role with Joel Embiid, but certainly a large role without Joel Embiid. And Tobias spoke actually after Game 1 about how the team would embrace the situation of not having Joel. Of course, in game one, they were without him a little bit in the first half due to foul trouble, and expect that mentality to continue on. Here's what Tobias had to say.
Yeah, I mean, we played without him throughout the year. I think when, Joe goes down, then we kind of move a little bit in a different direction where we use Ben as the 5, and he's a dynamic roller as well at that position. And then, Ben picks up his 4th, 5th foul, so then we're down Joel and Ben. So then we're just trying to really kind of go on the fly there. But, I mean, it's something that obviously you don't really want to prepare for, but we do have to be better in those moments out there. I have to be better in those moments of evaluating the mismatches and where we can generate some flow from. But, I think the biggest thing that it hurt us was on the defensive end, where we didn't have that body out there, those big bodies out there that, disrupt other teams' offensive rhythm. So, that's where I saw the biggest thing. And, we still had opportunity to close out this game. It didn't happen. And, we move on to where we're at right now, and we get better from it. That's it.
Tobias Harris, 21 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 for 24 from the floor in Game 4 on Monday. And something, Lauren, that I'm looking forward to seeing is how Tobias Harris, you would think, is going to answer the challenge of increased attention from Washington now that Joel Embiid's not out there. Because the first thing you think of is like, okay, the 76ers, they're going to miss this type of production on the offensive end and this type of production on the defensive end with Joel Embiid being absent. But then it obviously is going to change how Washington approaches things defensively. And based on how Tobias started the series, you'd have to think he's going to command even more attention now that there's a body, so to speak, to spare for Washington defensively.
Well, yeah, the good news about that game one is that Tobias did play so well in Joel Embiid's absence when he should have been receiving perhaps a little bit more attention from Washington's defenders. A reminder that was his 37-point playoff career high performance for Tobias, largely in the absence of Joel. I agree with you, Seltz. He's going to be taking on a huge role. And as a leader of this team, not even on the court, but sort of as a locker room leader, as a veteran, he's going to put a lot of pressure on himself in this situation. And so far this season, he's really rise to the occasion in those moments.
We know the 76ers have shot the ball great from three-point territory throughout this series. That has been one of the biggest reasons why the 76ers have a 3-1 lead. And speaking of three-point shooting, there is Seth Curry, who knocked down 10 points on 5 for 11 from the field in Game 4 on Monday. However, he did not have a 3. I would expect that to not happen again, at least not in consecutive games.
Well, and certainly expect the team to run a little bit more offense for a guy like Seth, who is just so dangerous when he gets going. I don't need to remind you, Seltz, but he is one of the best shooters that this game has ever seen. So if Seth Curry is able to get hot, there's Danny Green behind him, another weapon from beyond the arc. The team is going to remain in good shape. They have a lot of weapons and time to activate them.
76ers, talking about their guards, got great output, as we discussed, from Tyrese Maxey. So much fun to watch the young guy continue to grow and develop. And Lauren, had it not been for Tyrese's flash in the fourth quarter, I might have felt a little bit differently as far as my overall mood after Game 4. But I know it was a loss. I was still really, really excited to see what Tyrese was not only just able to do, but in the most meaningful minutes he's played extendedly in his career so far.
For sure, 10 of his 15 points came in that fourth quarter, as did all 7 of Furkan Korkmaz's points. I think the 2 of them added a little bit of hope to the end of this one. But Tyrese has been wonderful all season long. Every time he's been given the opportunity to get minutes and to make an impact, he's done exactly that. His teammates are impressed. His head coach is impressed. My opinion, of course, matters the least, but I have been very impressed as well by the way he's been able to stay ready and meet any moment that's come his way.
We know he can attack like we just saw, but how about this steal on Bradley Beal, the full court run out, beating Russell Westbrook down the floor for the jam. The way he was able to pick things up on the defensive end, Lauren, stood out to me as much as the 2 threes, let's say, that he knocked down. He had the steal on Beal and then the block on Westbrook.
Yeah, really special to see Tyrese start to grow as a defender. We know that he's been tutored by a pretty good defender in Matisse Thybulle. The two of them talk about what they've shared with one another in terms of their games on offense and on defense. Really, really cool to see Tyrese grow on both ends of the floor progressively throughout the season, and he's done it over and over again.
Yeah, look at that block right there. Excellent to see Tyrese with a spark down the stretch, getting some increased minutes, logging a total of 21 in the game, 6 for 12 overall. He talked about his expanded responsibilities afterwards.
The only thing that's really going through my mind is, try to help this team win. I've been saying it all year. My job is to stay ready and do whatever Coach Doc and the coaching staff asked me to do. And at that moment, it was time to step up and play big minutes and try to help our team get a W.
Simple, straightforward mindset from young Tyrese Maxey, who don't look now, Lauren, but over his last 14 games that he's played in, dating back to the regular season, of course, he's 11 for his last 22. I'm no math genius. Even 50% from 3 over his last 14 appearances.
Well, that's something that's particularly impressive because back when Tyrese was drafted, we heard that he might be a little bit of an underrated shooter, and he's proven exactly that. It's an area that he says he's put in a lot of work on, but clearly he has a lot of talent there, and the confidence shooting threes is something that I've really seen rise for Tyrese, and that has just been wonderful for this team, like you said, in recent days, but it's going to continue to be really important for this Sixers team as Tyrese continues to grow.
Yet another subplot for the 76ers tonight. How do they fare on the home court with 20,000-ish in the house for the first time in 15 months? And that should be great to see, Lauren. And the Sixers, they've gradually gotten the benefit of the boost from the home crowd as this season has gone along. I think tonight, I want to see the crowd put its arms around this Sixers team after today's update on Joel Embiid and give them that much more of a lift.
I expect a vintage performance from the Sixers fans tonight. This, of course, a group that has rallied behind this team all season from home and then progressively as they've been allowed into the arena. And it's a group of fans that love Joel Embiid as well. They're rooting for the team's success. They're rooting for Joel's recovery. I know that they will be here in mass making a big impact tonight, and I just can't wait.
That record 31-7 if you count the first 2 games of this postseason series. Danny Green has never played in front of a sold-out crowd at the center as a 76er, and that was something that was on his mind following Game 4.
Listen, I've been on the other end of it, so I know exactly what it's like. I've been in that arena as an opposing team, so I know how hard it is to play in that arena. I'm looking forward to it, and no better timing than right now, where we need our fans at home, especially if we don't have a full healthy squad. But it'll have us, ready, prepared for going into the next game.
There is the aforementioned Danny Green getting us some shots at the center as the 76ers get ready for another closeout opportunity tonight in Game 5 against the Washington Wizards.
Really big time. It's been all season big time to have guys like Danny Green in this locker room as leaders, but I think especially now facing a little bit of adversity, really heartening to have someone like Danny Green in the locker room and on the bench to rally the troops on a night like tonight.
Absolutely. This is a time for the vets, guys like Danny, George Hill, Dwight Howard, to get the team focused on the task at hand and just keep on trying to keep on and get this run moving forward in a ongoing positive direction. Sixers, they had a tough time in some spots in the game in Game 4 on Monday, but there were also some bright spots. We talked about a few of the reserves, and that is part of the focus of tonight's Inside the Matchup segment with former Delaware Blue Coats assistant and now current head coach of University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Jay Crafton.
This is Jay Crafton. It's time to go inside the matchup. The rookie, Tyrese Maxey. Incredible energy. Love the passion. Love the intense pressure this kid's putting on the rim in transition. He's constantly just playing with high energy, getting into the paint, and making decisions at the rim to score or to sometimes kick out to his teammates. Does a great job in pick and roll, being able to find ways to snake it to his left or come back to his right, get downhill, and consistently put pressure on the rim. He's a great athlete as well. He gets active in transition. We love it when Ben Simmons kicks the ball ahead to him. He's able to athletically finish at the rim with power and ferociousness. This young player is playing great basketball early in his career. 15 points the other night on 6 for 12 from shooting, 50%, and 2 for 3 from 3. Great job, young fella. We need a big game from you tonight. Let's segue into the impact off the bench of Furky from Turkey. Furkan's been incredible. Great energy off the bench the other night. You like how he's showing you some defense. He didn't have a reputation for playing defense, but he's getting active hands, getting some deflections, giving the Sixers a chance to get out in transition. You like the three when he gets his feet set early in the game the other night, knocks down a big-time three. And he also had some key rebounds on the defensive end and also on the offensive end, crashing the offensive glass. Tremendous effort from Furky coming off the bench. We're going to need a big game from him tonight as the Sixers are a little bit shorthanded. With the injury to the big fella, Joel, we're going to definitely need to see Ben at his best. Coming into game 4 the other night, Ben was averaging 10 assists per game and was the engine that was driving this offensive attack. And what you loved about Ben, and what we love about Ben, is what he does in transition. And it's not just the intense pressure on the rim as he's a 6'10 guard pushing that thing. It's the kick-aheads when he's finding guys early for rim runs, for the forwards, kick-ahead threes for Danny Green and Seth Curry to get them early shots in transition. And then you love that kind of NBA rugby action when he's just pushing the basketball very intentionally. He conquers the middle of the floor, and he pitches back to his trail guys. Sometimes it's for the bigs, sometimes it's for the guards to be able to get three-point shots to the top of the key. And then you love when he's refusing ball screens or getting downhill and pick and rolls and then getting to the rim, putting pressure on the rim, but also finding guys. He has been a driving force of this offense. His constant pressure on the rim and his willingness to pass the basketball at 10 assists per game has made him such an elite player. We're going to need him to stay out of foul trouble and get not just himself going, but the other guys going, help them get some easy plays so the Sixers can close the series out tonight. This is Jay Crafton, and you just went inside the matchup.
Love getting pregame wisdom from Jay Crafton, former Delaware Bluecoats assistant coach and head coach at University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I, Lauren, am expecting a bounce-back game from Ben tonight, hopefully out of foul trouble and back to his aggressive self. I like the fact that he was at the arena early on tonight. I think we've seen, based on his track record in the past, the guy knows how to respond when needed.
And so it's something you and I have talked about all season long. His growing confidence, growing as a leader. We've heard Tyrese Maxey refer to Ben Simmons as a veteran on this team. This is someone who takes his role extremely seriously, takes his preparation extremely seriously, and he's going to come out with a fire tonight that we're all used to.
Time now for us to give you our keys to the game here on 7-6 Live Countdown. Lauren Rosen, why don't you get us started with your key to game number 5 in this first round series?
Well, I've already alluded to my key to the game, so I don't know if I'm going to need a full 24 seconds. You know that I will take them up. Sometimes people say, act like you've been here before. The Sixers have been here before. They've played without Joel Embiid here and there all season long. They had a 10-game stretch without Joel from March 16th to April 1st, and the team went 7-3, including some tough road games. They saw contributions across the roster. They have the reps. They were able to do it in the first half of game 1. Draw upon that experience. You've been here before. You got this. Was that inspiring a little bit at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to get you inside that locker room. Give the pep talk, the chat pregame. Doc, yield the floor, please. Lauren Rosen.
I'm very happy right where I am, but I appreciate your confidence.
Just get the megaphone. Shout it out to the court.
Totally. What could go wrong?
I think that was a great key. I can't say that there's much depth to my key tonight. Similarly in theme to Lauren's, just tune out the noise. If you're the 76ers, go out, do your thing. This is the current state of affairs. Got to live with it. Got to deal with it. Got to make the most of it. No other choice. Up 3-1 in the series. I think the 76ers have enough talent to get the job done tonight. End this series, get as much rest as possible, and get ready for round 2. That's my key.
I dig it. Plain and simple.
Those are our keys to tonight's game. Who the 76ers will start in their top 5 tonight with Joel Embiid not out there? We'll probably know that in about a half hour's time. I think that'll be pretty fascinating, Lauren, to see how Doc Rivers schemes it up. Do you throw Ben Simmons at the 5, bring in another guard or another wing? Do you go big with Dwight Howard? Do you stick with Mike Scott as your small ball 5-man? Things to be decided within the next 30 minutes. Well, they're probably already decided, but things we will learn and be revealed in the next 30 minutes.
Luckily, the team has options. This is not a situation that they've wanted to be in, like we've said all show long, but it's a situation they're familiar with, and luckily, they have some good options that you just enumerated. Looking forward to seeing the team bring the fire they've brought all season. The fans bring the same. I think it's going to be a good night.
We didn't really talk much. Well, we didn't talk at all or reference at all Washington, Lauren, and what they did well in Game 4 and how they might try to build on that for Game 5 tonight. I felt in large part they took advantage of the scenario that unfolded. They generated energy. They capitalized on that opportunity. Rui Hachimura was great, had a really good night shooting the 3, helped put the 76ers away in the final minutes of play. Russell Westbrook didn't shoot efficiently, but he did a whole lot of other stuff, namely rebounding the ball extremely well. Bradley Beal hit some threes. Davis Bertans, he's out for the rest of the series, and that's a noteworthy absence for the Wizards, especially if you're a team like Washington that was counting on Bertans to come into the starting lineup the last 2 games and give them a boost from outside the arc.
Yeah, but even without Bertans, this is a team that remains, I believe, outmatched by the 76ers, even without Joel Embiid. It's a team that the Sixers had success against, with or without Joel Embiid up until this point. I look forward to seeing them continue to capitalize on the advantages that they do have this evening in Game 5.
Big thanks to you, Lauren Rosen, to Ryan Coletti, Trevor Gaffney, and Jay Crafton as well. 76ers and the Wizards, Game 5 tonight, tomorrow in your feeds. Check out the 76ers Podcast Network for a new episode of Fanatic About the Playoffs. There he is, Ben Jammin Simmons. Looking forward to seeing him, George Hill and company, and the Sixers wrap this thing up tonight. Enjoy the game.